It is a sort of story that could have been told in many times and in many places, but we encounter it in Scripture in the time of King Darius. We meet again Daniel, the young man who was taken off into Babylon and raised in all things Babylonian. Daniel's now an old man, and he has risen to power throughout a succession of kings and empires. Talk about a miracle. There's one right there. Daniel has been faithful, and now under King Darius, he's risen to a position of power and authority. And unfortunately, that has stirred up a good bit of resentment and envy and jealousy. All those ladder climbers are ready to get rid of Daniel. Well, they start a mud raking campaign, but when they find there's no mud to rake, they come up with what they consider to be a foolproof plan. They go to the king and, stroking his ego, they suggest, wouldn't it be a good idea to make an edict throughout the land that for 30 days no one should pray to anyone or anything but you, O king? Not quite sure why the king agreed, but he did and signed an edict that was good for the land. Now I want you to think about it for just a moment, because talking about making prayer illegal, which is certainly been a topic of late, is impossible. I mean, how do you stop someone from praying? I can be praying right now, and you wouldn't know, and you would have no way of being able to stop that. But Daniel is faced with a decision. He has been faithful in all that he does. He truly has loved God with his whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. And he has a position of prayer, a pattern of prayer, and a place of prayer. Now that prayer is illegal, he has a decision to make. Of course, he could just go home and pray in silence. He could go into his prayer closet and no one would ever know. But Daniel chooses instead to go home, and Scripture tells us he flings open the windows. He's right in front of the window that everyone can see, and he continues with his pattern of prayer. For Daniel, prayer is more important than his position, than his power, even than his own life. Now, regrettably, there are consequences to his decision, and that's the part of the story most folks know very well, for he is thrown into a den of lions. That's the verdict for having disobeyed the edict of the king. But we know how that story ends. If you don't, you can read it for yourself in Daniel chapter 6. But this profile in perseverance reminds me about something very powerful about prayer, about the power and the privilege of prayer. That no matter what, no matter where, no one and nothing can keep us separated from our relationship with God. Not prayer the sort of bringing our laundry lists of things for God to do, but our seeking to be present, fully present to God, to see things as God sees them, to hear them as God hears them, and to act in this world as those who belong to God. Now, we might not be in a lion's den, though it might feel like there are often folks who want to take a bite out of us. But nothing can separate us from the power and the privilege of prayer. Blessings to you.